Sommerfield, Chuck Randy, your defending fathers, joined this segment by State Senator Pat Colbeck.
Pat, in the in the last segment, Pat, I got on a rant. I got triggered by what was going on.
No, not you, Randy. Wait a minute.
Mackinac Island and the lack of leadership. Starting at the head of our state, Governor Rick Snyder, I'm sorry, under his stewardship, budgets have gone high. Energy cost package has gone through high energy costs. We haven't got no-fault auto insurance reforms. We're not doing anything to get rid of the state income tax. I mean, leadership is the role, in my opinion, of the governor, especially if you have an R behind your name and you lead the supermajority in the Senate, the majority in the House. The next governor of this state is going to be critical. Yesterday, you filed papers to basically make the announcement here on the show and other places you've been on already that you decided to run for governor in 2018 to be in the Republican primary. Why did you do it?
Well, you're right. It is about leadership, and leadership determines what direction you want the state to head in. And from my perspective, for way too long, the direction we've been headed in is the direction that favors the folks that are special interest. You know me. You've been watching me for quite a while, and Brian as well. I've been one of those voices that said, guys, remember, the government works for the people, not the other way around. And the direction we've been taking things, frankly, is essentially saying talk to the hand of the people that put us into office. And I've been extremely frustrated. I know you've been frustrated by it, and Brian's been frustrated by it, is that they keep taking us in directions that are favoring these special interest deals. The best example of that's probably the roads. Remember in Proposal 1, 81% of the voters said no to the tax increase. So what happened? Within 2 months of that tax increase, they proposed another tax increase. This time the vote of the people was not necessary for it. And so I was a vocal opponent to both of them. I identified a solution that focused on higher quality roads and lowering the total life cycle costs for maintenance. And those are the types of principled solutions that I think we need up there. And you're right, it all comes down to leadership and leading people in that direction. And you can do that very effectively from the governor's pulpit.
Well, one thing that I don't understand, and Brian and I have been fighting with this administration, I had a personal conversation with Brian Calley 3 years ago at the Emmett County Top of the Knob event. We need to reinvent Michigan. We need to bring businesses and companies back here to bring more jobs. This population has been declining under Snyder, and we need to be growing the population. We're the only state in the country that's losing population when everybody else is growing. And I keep telling them, this is the stuff we need to do. We need to have no state income tax. We need lower electric rates. We need to fix no-fault auto insurance. We need to bring companies and jobs back here because we have less regulations. Brian's been screaming about it for years. Nobody's listening to us, Pat.
I know. It's very frustrating. Well, there's nobody better to go off and do some reinvention than an aerospace engineer. So that's my background. I like working on the bold solutions and the stuff that really is going to make an impact on the people in the state. You know my work in regards to promoting and leading the effort to make Michigan a right-to-work state. You were right there on the front lines with me. And those are the types of game changers that help stem the tide, stem the exodus out of our state, because you know as well as I do that by a 3-to-1 margin, people that have left our state have gone to right-to-work states. So that's one kind of attempt to shore up our firewall, if you will, and give people encouragement to come here. But the income tax is next on the table, and there's a lot of people that are saying that it's impossible to eliminate the state income tax. And I'm telling you, not if you have a limited government mindset. And I've actually been working the last few weeks on exactly how to get to $0 on the state income tax without breaking the bank, without being fiscally irresponsible, and without cutting programs that most people think are really important, but actually delivering the programs we have more effectively. And it's about a $9.7 billion ask, and I've gotten to about $8.7 billion without even breaking a sweat.
Well, the other thing that we're looking at here, too, and I'm sorry, but I'm looking at the Democrat side. I'm looking at Gretchen Whitmer having raised $1 million. I'm looking at Abdul El Sayed, the Muslim doctor, 32 years old, wants to make Michigan a sanctuary state. I'm looking at Mark Bernstein up on Mackinac Island, Jeffrey Feiger running TV ads. We already know what their agenda is going to be, Pat. We need somebody 180 degrees opposite so that there's a bold contrast for the voters of Michigan to look at and say, okay, do I want to go into the August primary asking for a ballot? Yep. Do I want a Republican ballot or do I want a Democrat ballot? And I'm talking about the people in the middle, the independents. Because I believe that we got to have a bold opposite direction to compete against the Democrat candidates that they're going to be putting up.
Well, you know me. I haven't shied away from bold colors. I'm not a big fan of pale pastels, and I agree with you very much. And, you know, out of the list of candidates that you cited there, I've actually debated Dr. Abdul Al-Sayed already on the subject of healthcare at the Wayne State University Medical School. And I strongly believe that he is going to be the Democratic nominee. And I'm doing this based on the fact that he's a Soros scholar, so George Soros backing potentially. He's got shout-outs from Bill Clinton at the University of Michigan commencement address. I think he's being groomed to be Barack 2.0.
And what better way to get him some experience is to be an executive governor of a state, the first Muslim in the United States of America to be a governor of an entire state. To set him up after 8 years, he'll be 40 years old. He would be the next, like you say, Obama 2.0, the next leading face of the Democrat Party to run for president.
Yep, that's the way I see things shaping up right now. But anyway, I think we would be a very, very good contrast against that type of a candidate, better than any of the other candidates that I've seen named to date. First of all, because we actually have a proven record of standing up for the best interests of the people. And second of all, because we're not afraid to actually go off and take on the tough issues. So we're ready to roll, and we're in this to win it. And if people want to help out, we got the website already up and operational at colbeckforgovernor.com or principledsolutionsformichigan.com. So we're ready to roll.
What do you see, without being negative against the opponents, because that's my job, that's what I'm going to do. But I look at Bill Schuette. I believe this is his fifth or potentially sixth pension that he'd be seeking from elected office.
You get a pension with this?
Oh, yeah. Did you know that?
I honestly have no idea. I probably should check into that. Maybe I'll ask my wife to look into it.
Right. Well, and here's the problem. You know, I totally disagree with him on a lot of issues on things that he's done lately as the Attorney General. Brian and I were all over the Capitol View Senate building transaction.
Yep.
I got 3 state representatives, Todd Kerser before he was resigned, my state rep, Tristan Cole, State Representative Scott Dianda for the UP, to put in writing formal written requests to Bill Schuette's office to simply investigate that real estate transaction, Pat. He refused to do it.
Yep.
I mean.
Well, I know. Well, behind the scenes, we went off and investigated that as well for statutory violations. There is a possibility at the federal level in regards to racketeering. Here's what's got me concerned. You guys are the only ones talking about this, and it should be statewide. When Randy Richardville is now being talked about as a potential head of the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, that's the vehicle he used to convey the Capitol View project to go off and sign that lease. He used the Michigan Strategic Fund in particular, and to give him control over that, that is not good for Michigan. So thank you for getting the word out on that.
Well, we've been talking about it. Brian spent hundreds of hours providing research to the state reps to produce those letters. He contacted the state police. I mean, we went down and had meetings with Sharon Lalio in Bill Schuette's office. Good friend of ours, Tom Stillings, and I went down there and met with Sharon. I mean, we just could not get these guys to do anything on that issue. I've got a problem with the way he backed up the DNR regulatory rulings over Mark Baker, the pig farmer in Missaukee County, you know. Yeah. Then we look on the other side, and Brian Calley's trying to reinvent himself with these PR stunts that he's come out with, one yesterday and probably one later today. I'm sorry, but I just can't see him getting any support. Are we going to see you stand up to these guys on these particular issues?
Well, you know, I was going through in preparation for this campaign. We've gone through all the stuff that we've worked on proactively. I mean, all these solutions, literally, we're hitting not only on healthcare, on roads, on protecting our First Amendment, Second Amendment rights, on criminal justice system reform, all these different topics that we've got so much to talk about on our side that the goal is to highlight, well, here's what we're proposing. What are you guys going to do on these subjects? Put your solutions up against ours, and we'll debate that in public debate. That's what I'm looking forward to. And you know me, I've focused in on the policy differences and not on the personalities. And I think if you frame the public policies in a way that makes it very evident to the voters as to who's got their act together on a particular issue and who doesn't, that's where I'd like to make the differences, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I understand that. But, it's when you say personality or making it personal, I'm sorry, these are not personal attacks. I like Bill Schuette as a person. I like Brian Calley as a person. I'm not talking personal stuff, just because he's short. I'm not bringing that up.
I'm not talking about what I'm talking about. That is people specific issues on it. I mean, if you frame these, and this is just a philosophy I've had since in the 2 campaigns that I've run already. I really do like to hit hard on the policy stuff because you know me, I'm kind of a policy wonk, and I want to make sure that I'm very comfortable if we get into any sort of public debate that I'm going to understand that subject matter to a level that will demonstrate that we can do solutions that actually help people, not hurt them.
Yeah. Hey, Pat, can you stay over another short segment?
Absolutely, sir.
All right, stand by. We're talking to State Senator Patrick Colbeck, who is officially a candidate for governor in 2018. We'll be right back.
Have you heard those ads that ran last week about the gas tax?
Yeah, I thought they were really good. You?
Oh, yeah, me too. But who are the folks running these? The Drain the Swamp people? I've never heard of them.
Well, they're a group of concerned citizens that actually keep track of what our government and elected officials are doing and letting the public know about it, like the gas tax. Most people think Michigan voted that down in 2015, and that was the end of it. Well, the legislature then took the tax language straight out of Proposal 1 and passed the taxes anyway. They took effect January 1st after the November election, so the politicians didn't have to worry about it coming up during the last campaign.
Really? I didn't know that.
Most people don't, and that's the reason for these ads.
How do you know so much about this?
I'm one of those concerned citizens. For more information on Drain the Swamp Michigan, you can find us on Facebook. Our website will be up shortly at www.dtsmi.org, and our Twitter account is #DTSMI. This message brought to you and paid for by Drain the Swamp Michigan.
Fine, Sommerfield, Trucker Randy, your defending father's State Senator Pat Colbeck, throwing his hat in the ring to be the next governor of the state of Michigan. A lot of times we hear from these politicians all the time that have, here are my top 3 reasons why I'm getting in. Here are my top 3 things I want to get done. Give me your top 2.
Top 2, number 1 is restore respect for our system of government. And that starts with the government respecting the people that put us into office. And the second part is making sure that we're putting in principled solutions that reflect that priority. And so it gets into simple things like tax increases shouldn't be the first solution that everybody goes off and looks at. They should be the last solution because that's taking away freedom from our people. So those are the 2 key ones. We got to restore respect for our system of government. That goes along with how we conduct ourselves, what our priorities are, and who we're talking to. It's not just the power brokers that matter. It's the folks that are putting us into office. They're the moms, they're the dads, they're the veterans, they're the police officers. They're all the folks that, in the Trump campaign were identified as the deplorables, if you will. Well, it's about time that we started giving them the respect that they deserve and get back into this government of the people, for the people, and by the people mode.
One of the things on that point, Patrick, that I want to get a question into you on is people are saying, Donald Trump was an outsider businessman. Okay. Yeah. And looking at a governor's race going into, 2018, you're a state senator. You're serving
Right.
your second term. You're from Lansing. Brian Kelly, Lieutenant Governor, Attorney General Bill Schuette. The only other outsider in this race is Dr. Jim Hines coming in and from the private sector. But how would you counter that argument about how you're different than Schuette and Kelly from being an elected official in Lansing?
Well, for 44 years in my career, I was working on working out in the real world. So I own my own small business. I had a consulting business around management consulting for 6 years. I've gone off and served as an aerospace engineer. I worked on exciting programs like the International Space Station. And I also was an instructor, a teacher out at Space Camp. I've been a consultant in the auto industry. I understand the number one industry in the state of Michigan very well, intimately, inside and out. So when I counsel young students that are looking at going into politics, I consistently advise them, please go off and get some real-world experience. Understand what you're going to be changing from before you try to change it to something else. You need to understand how that real world operates. I think I've got a good blend. I mean, those first 44 years, I enjoyed my life quite a bit. This last 6 years have been kind of like serving penance, if you will. But it's given me an understanding of how our system of government operates inside and out. And I think that's an important understanding to have. The 44 years before that gave me a lot of insight as to what the impacts of bad policies can be. But the last 6 years have given me insights on how we can fix this. And I should also point out, I'm actually putting all that information into a book. It's going to talk about how government really works. We should see that being released sometime this fall. And my goal is to arm the grassroots with the information that they need to be influential in the halls of Lansing.
Well, on that vein, I want to get clear on the record. You never ran for any elected office before you ran for state senate.
Absolutely. And, when we went up to Lansing and told them we were interested in running for the Senate, they said, why don't you, first thing that they said was, how much money do you have? And we go, well, don't you want to know what we stand for? Both my wife and I were amazed. We're going, but we're pro-life. We agree in limited government, the Constitution first. They didn't want to hear any of that. The first question they asked was, how much money do you have? And so we were a little disheartened. They said, you should run for the House first. And we're going, well, we've got a good friend that's running in the House already, so that's already covered. I'm not looking at getting a title. If we had somebody good in the Senate, I would have bowed out of that and gone back and been happy in the private sector. So I think, I don't know, that kind of gets to the heart of it, I think.
Yeah, bottom line. Well, speaking on money, Schuette supposedly has $1 million in his account. Brian has $700,000 in his account. How are you going to fund this campaign to take those big giants on?
There's a lot of disaffected people out there. There's a lot of people that have been very frustrated looking for a candidate that actually prioritizes their best interests first, and they're all coming to us. So, I'm always one of those, I always highlight the fact that we prefer silos, but God prefers manna. He has never let us down. When we've gone off and done our race, the first time we ran for office, I don't know if you knew this, but my wife and I liquidated all of our retirement savings to run for office because we felt called to run. And we had some dark days where we didn't think we were going to be able to keep the lights on back at home. And you know what? We prayed, and God gave us exactly what we needed to win. You remember in Proposal 1, we were outspent 40-1 by the proponents of Proposal 1. And yet we still won that with 81% of the votes. Having said that, we're not going to be in the pauper mode when it comes to actually financing this campaign. You're going to hear more about this in the coming months, and we'll keep you posted on it. But let's just say that there are financial doors opening for us that I never would have dreamed possible. And I think we're going to have much, much, much more support than I ever had in the state Senate run.
And your website again?
It's colbeckforgovernor.com, or you can just simply go to principledsolutionsformichigan.com. Sometimes when people say Colbeck, they spell it Colbert, if you know what I mean. So We've got another alternative for principledsolutionsformichigan.com.
Excellent. All right, sir. Well, we wanted to have you on. I'm sorry I ran some rapid-fire positions and policies at you, but we greatly appreciate you throwing your hat in, and we know what kind of a commitment it's taking out of your family life, and want to thank you for running and putting your positions out there.
This is Cassie. Thank you for listening to Your Defending Fathers.
There's stuff that you hear on your show that you never hear anywhere else, and I appreciate your diligence. That's what we need.
Thank you.